dark of the night, something strange is going on.
You see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
The dead have risen from the grave.
There's 100 of those things out there.
And now the question is, how do we get them back into the ground?
We have a little problem.
That goddamn chemicals! It's all over everything!
Brain!
Medical science is baffled.
You're not alive.
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Brains!
The military is nervous. The police are confused.
Send more cops.
The return of the living dead.
Welcome to Fanboy and a Snob. I'm Chad. That's Chris. And today we watched Return of the Living Dead. When did this movie come out, Chris?
85.
1985.
Directed by Dan O'Bannon.
Dan O'Bannon.
Bannon, yeah.
Yeah.
His directorial debut. This is described as a punk zombie movie comedy. I believe the words I read were in that order, maybe.
Yeah.
Rearrange them however you see fit. I don't know. I mean, it's a a good movie, but whatevs,
No, I wanted to watch this movie because it's Halloween coming up soon. We're watching our little horror movies you're letting me watch. And this is a fun movie to watch with friends while drinking beers.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
That's exactly what we did. We both drank about a 6-pack during the movie.
Problem is, dude, zombie fatigue. You know what I mean? And it's not this movie's fault. This movie came out before zombie fatigue, but now it's like, like seen it, and I have seen this movie like 10 times maybe. It is before like The Walking Dead. It was like one of the best. Like it was It and Night were like the best, or It, Dawn and Night.
Yeah.
Were the best.
And this is a totally different movie than George A. Romero movies.
Yeah, Romero's movies are like social commentary about consumerism and racism. This is just an old. It reminded me of Living Dead out of Manchester Morgue, where instead of being like brains or whatever, which these zombies are, shots to the head don't kill them. It's some sort of voodoo magic sorcery. Like that's what I liked.
Fuck these zombies.
Skeletons come back, like you grind them up, turn them into dust, and then they rain down upon you from the atmosphere. This is a no-win scenario kind of zombie thing.
Yeah, this is even at the end they don't nuke. It's not a nuke that goes off. Is it a nuke? Is it a baby nuke?
It was a low-yield nuclear atomic weapon. That's what the symbol was on it.
And yet.
And the mushroom cloud. Yeah. They nuke Louisville, Kentucky at the end of the movie. But the movie starts with probably the coolest boss ever.
What was it? What was the place called?
I don't know.
It was like a store where they sell like skeletons.
It was like a medical warehouse facility where like if you needed a skeleton, they could get it to you. Vivisected dogs, fucking medical supply store. Yeah.
So this punk guy, I guess he's a punk because he's for the punks.
Yeah, but he had this lettered jacket, so he probably just hangs out with them, but he's not one of. Well, remember he was like, "Oh, he got a job. What a dick," So he's not really one of them. They were probably all friends.
Yeah, they're just friends. Well, he gets a job there, so he's going through the routine of getting trained and everything. So they show him all the shit, like the dog's cut in half for dissection and all that stuff, the skeletons, and the boss is like, "Let me show you something really cool."
There's this weird like canister down in the basement
delivered by accident
from the government. And what is it? Well, remember that movie Night of the Living Dead? Yeah, that movie was awesome. Turns out it was real. And it turns out the government threatened to murder the guy who made it, so he changed all the details, but it really happened. And we have the original zombie or whatever. No way. Bullshit. And then they go down and they look at it and there's a corpse in this weird container. Are you sure he's safe in there? Sure he is. It's built by the U.S. government. Whack.
Fucking all the chemicals and everything shoot up in their face.
And they pass out for an undetermined amount of time. And they wake up and they are fucking sick. And they're freaking out. And they don't want to call the police and they don't want to call the army.
Well, the young kid wants to call the police. And the guy's like, no, it's going to hurt the business.
We'll call the boss. Frank, get over here. Right, that's his name. Frank and what was the other guy? Frank and Bert. Bert was the guy who worked there. Frank was the boss, right?
Yeah.
Frank, Bert, and Ernie was the mortician, and Freddie was the kid.
Yeah.
Real easy. Frank, Bert, Ernie, Freddie. Probably watching Sesame Street when he came up with those names. Ernie, Bert, Frank, Freddie. There we go. Bing, bang, boom.
So the boss shows up, and this is
my favorite character. I think the boss is my favorite character.
I like the mortician.
Mortician was good, but the boss was more just like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Like trying to constantly not get fired.
As they're waiting for the boss show up, they see the dog that's cut in half come back to life.
Yeah, and they try to kill it and it doesn't die.
And then they have a body hanging by the ears in the freezer, and that comes back to life.
And it's just screaming.
Yeah.
So they lock it in there until the Frank, right? No, Bert. Frank?
Boss guy.
Boss man shows up.
Big boss.
And he's like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. The movie, right? It says destroy the brain.
I mean, they're already dead, so we just gotta
destroy the brain.
Re-kill it.
Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna open the door. Here's a pickaxe. The guy's like, I can't do this. And he's like, here's a pickaxe.
Be a man.
And I'm gonna go hide over here. That's why he was my favorite character.
Which is why it's the best that he gets attacked first.
Yeah, exactly. That's the comedy in it. They throw the door open and the fucking guy runs straight for him and they fucking tackle him to the ground and pickaxe his head to the fucking floor.
I did hit him in the brain.
What now? And then he runs over and gets a bone saw and chops the head off and the body springs up and they have to
This is where they find out these aren't the normal
What do you mean the movie lied?
That was one of the best lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these zombies are just
voodoo zombies.
unstoppable.
They're reanimated. They are animated. They've not come back to life. They're still dead. They're just animated by magic, I guess.
They have their consciousness. They have their memories and stuff.
Yeah. And the only reason they want to eat brains is because they can feel themselves rotting.
That was an awesome scene.
Yeah. And the brain, for some reason, eating brains makes the feeling of rotting lessen.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's why zombies eat brains, is because they come back to life. I'm like, oh my God, and it hurts.
That's why they're going, ah,
yeah.
They're chasing you.
So while this is happening, what's his name? Freddy's friends are a bunch of fucking degenerate scumbag punk.
Why are they scumbags? Why are they losers?
Because the main punk's name is Suicide, and he's all about, this isn't a costume, man, it's a message.
Hey.
Yeah, you're a bitch. I'm sure you could kick my ass, but you're a bitch. You know what I mean?
You're awful.
It's the truth. I got fucking paper clips from my ear to my nose. Why? It's about a statement. All you've stated to me is you're a you know, like, it's for real though. Come on, man. And then that chick had the Quigley lady or whatever her name is, had the dumb like makeup, and she's like, what's the worst way you want to die? And it's like, ah. I hung out with these people. They suck.
Yeah. They did always bring down the mood, a lot of them.
Oh my God.
Then you said the fun punks and everything.
I would have been the dude with the boombox.
The mod.
Yeah. It's like, I don't really want to do piercings and stuff. I guess I'll wear a suit. Wouldn't that be wacky? Do I fit in now? Fuck. It's so stupid.
Are you expressing some of your childhood?
No, because I was one of the cool kids in school.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, more people know me than you.
Little Chris walking around with the pink hair and stuff.
Yeah, that was supposed to be red. You know that story. My hair was too blonde for the red dye. So.
I was trying to make a statement.
No, I just wanted to dye my hair. I realized as a teenager, that's the only time you can get away with dyeing your hair wacky colors. So I was like, fuck it, green, pink, blue. I'll get it at, done now. This was a moment of weakness.
But anyway, So they're looking for a place to party while their friend is getting out of work at 10 o'clock. So one of them brings up, let's go to the cemetery.
That would be real spooky.
Fuck you, you like hanging out in cemeteries.
Yeah, but I don't go there because it's spooky. I go there and I cry when I find child's graves.
That was fun.
Civil War graves. I get upset that people knock them over and shit. I go to graveyards to get sad and angry. I don't go there to feel spooky.
You just want to get your angst.
Then I got bit by a fucking fire ant in that graveyard, remember? That sucked.
But they go to the cemetery. They're all hanging out. They're all bored. And they're like, I just want to party.
Which they party by just dancing around naked with no drugs, booze.
Yeah, one girl decides
She just starts really feeling it. I like how the other girl's like, are you going to put your clothes back on? What are you, feeling something? It's like, come on, man. And then
she just wants to be naked.
And
man.
then later through the movie, she's pissed she's naked.
Yeah, because
yeah, you
so
stupid
it
bitch.
shoots back to the other people,
And they've dismembered the corpse completely.
and there's a crematorium,
And he's known the
down
guy
there.
for 25 years.
so they bring him there, and they have to talk him into.
We have rabid weasels.
Yeah, they lie, say it's rabid weasels, and the guy's like, "Well, at least let me bring him out to shoot him, put him out of the misery." And he's like, "We can't do that."
He's got a pistol.
So they're like,
Okay, we'll tell.
"How
the
much
truth.
can I trust you without you telling on me?" He's like, "I don't know yet."
Yeah.
Pretty much. He's like, "You have to." He's like, "I promise."
And then
So they show him the
open
hand.
one of the bags, and then arm spills out, and then it comes to life and grabs him by the leg, and he's like, Jesus! Like everyone's reactions to all the scenarios except for the punks is like really
No,
some of the punks were stupid about it. Like the dude in the trench coat.
well, you can't always have smart people. You gotta have
No, what I
somebody-
mean is like acting wise.
Oh yeah, the guy in the trench coat by far was the worst actor in the movie.
Yeah. Suicide was annoying, but his what the fuck right when he dies was pretty good. But his whole
Yeah.
character, like when
He was playing how it was written.
yeah, like his whole character, like when that chick is grinding on him, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, cause he,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, "Respect the dead." Pushes
Yeah.
her off him. That was a little. That's why when I first saw the movie, I thought he was gonna be the hero. After that,
no, I
but
knew
he's
the-
like the first of the group
I
to
knew
die.
the black guy was gonna be the only punk to survive.
He was awesome in the movie.
Oh, he was great. He was
He was one of the
reasonable.
better actors.
He played Juana Man.
Hmm.
That 90s or 2000s classic basketball comedy, which I genuinely believe is a classic comedy.
I haven't seen it.
It's about a male basketball player who isn't cutting it in the male league. So he becomes Juana Man and goes plays in the WNBA. And because he's the only one that can like dunk and shoot 3-pointers. It's so awesome.
Well, that movie can't be.
No, it cannot in today's world. Because
Well, it probably can.
no, because what would happen is Juana Man would join the WNBA, and if anyone was like, "You're a guy," he'd be like,
Back to the movie.
"Yeah, back to this movie."
Where we leave off.
So they bring the dismembered corpse to the
Yeah, so they bring
mortician.
they end up putting they talk him into letting him put him into the cream thing. So they burn the body up. Gotta make sure-
crematorium,
Yeah, the cream thing.
the cremation. You know that thing that supposedly killed.
So they bring the body to the crematorium, and the guy lets them obviously
Yeah.
burn the body. What happens when they burn the body, Chris?
Fucking, they burn it so much so that they don't even want ash left. So it turns into what you can. You can just burn things until they stop existing. It's pretty cool how fire works. But so you burn it till it stops existing. It turned into like comical white smoke, like when a new pope is chosen. And it flew into the clouds and then rain, and it rained down on the punks, and the naked one started
Because it was
complaining.
raining. It was like acid rain, pretty much.
He's complaining that her skin's burning. They run back to the car. They get the roof on. They're all like, "What the fuck?" And then the one chick in the blue is like, "Can you hear that?" And
Car
then,
won't start. They're sitting there. She starts hearing something.
and then it cuts to the graveyard, and all you can hear is like people screaming from underground, which I thought was that's probably one of the scarier things in this movie.
I like the idea of what we were saying is all the bodies like just screaming in pain coming out
Yeah,
of the
that's
ground and
fucking
stuff.
scary as shit. That's some what's that? Remember that guy said he drilled a hole into hell in like Scandinavia or whatever? If we made a movie like that, where like a dude accidentally drilled into hell and all you heard was screaming and then just all the monsters, all they did was scream constantly because they're in hell and they're being tortured 24/7.
That'd be cool.
Kind of like the zombies explaining how, like, yeah, we're rotting and we feel it. Like, that's why they're screaming all the time. Like, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
But then you got to take the punks out because they're just objectively silly. Because the one main punk who winds up joining the team wasn't really dressed all that punkish, if you think about it.
Oh, he wasn't the exaggerated, like.
He was the least punk of the group, I think, next to the chick who was like wearing nice clothes and spoke perfect English.
She was just.
She was there for Freddy.
No, she was the nice girl who ended up.
Was there for Freddy.
Yeah.
And Freddy was probably friends with Suicide since elementary school, and then Suicide went way too hard, and he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get a job and date this nice blonde girl.
Where we leave off on the plot.
Who cares?
Gross, dude.
Punk people? No, there was not even snot on my wrist. Punks dancing naked in the rain. Car won't start, so they figure to run to Freddy's place. Freddy ain't there because he's at the mortician. That's when they run into Tarman, who bites Suicide's face. They all run upstairs and barricade themselves in. Zombies start coming in. They run back to the graveyard because they're trying to get to the mortician because that's where Freddy is. They get separated. The chick is like, wouldn't it be cool if a bunch of old men ripped me to pieces? Guess what happened?
Yeah, but that was way before.
She gets ripped to pieces by a bunch of old men.
Yeah, the punks end up getting separated. She is left alone.
In the
Two go
graveyard.
one way, two go the other way.
Yeah, the mod guy and the blue girl go left. Black guy and the princess go right. Black guy and the princess make it to the mortuary. Black guy trench coat princess make it to the mortuary. Mod blue go back to the medical research facility or medical supply factory.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Well, it's not. They're not doing research there. That's when they call for paramedics. Paramedics show up.
Paramedics were from the crematorium.
We're at the crematorium.
I thought you were talking about the blue-haired girl.
Well, no, they're freaking out. They're just kind of like sitting there freaking out. And they had that moment
I
where
never liked you.
That's not what she said.
Yeah, she's like, I never liked you. Then it pauses for a second. She goes, hold me.
I thought she said, I liked you.
No.
All right.
No, she
Whatever.
said, I never liked you. Then it was really awkward for a second. And she's like, hold me. That's why I was like, what a fucking bitch.
Says the man who cannot hear. Yeah, so then fucking paramedics show up and they're like, well, your room temperature, you don't have a heartbeat or blood pressure, so you're dead. But you're alive.
So we don't know what the fuck's going on.
So we're gonna go get stretchers. And then while that's happening, the punks show up at the front door and the fucking mortician runs up and he's like, who the fuck are you? And they're like, there's fucking, can't you hear it? How many hundreds? Oh my goodness. And then there's a cool scene.
Okay, he's like, just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
The cool, like, no matter what you say about this movie,
The dialogue was
the
great.
dialogue was written great. I think it probably could have used a different director.
I think it could have. The run, there's a lot of padding. I feel like all the scenes were necessary, but I don't know. It just
No, the scenes that you were saying are padding could have been better if there was more tension, more like.
well, that's what I mean. Like if they had just stayed more nonsensical comedy, that would have been fine. But they kept bouncing back and forth between the nonsensical comedy and then trying to do like a serious scene.
Yeah, but you can do that well. It just I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
it
called
was-
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
Shaun of the Dead's by far the best horror comedy. Probably.
best zombie movie, next to like Night and Dawn, and that's only because they're the originals. Well,
Yeah,
not
but
the originals, but they're like the original good ones.
Yeah, but still, they're fucking amazing.
Yeah, but Shaun,
Shaun of the Dead's great.
the opening sequence, then it replays again, but this time zombie invasion, and it's all the exact same.
Like I was thinking of doing that movie, and I'm like, that's one of the movies. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what are we gonna say? Like, what are we gonna say that hasn't been said?
Yeah.
I copied his film style so much with like the quick cuts on like things that don't matter, like pouring cereal. Like a quick cut zoom on that. I fucking steal that all the time. This movie, cinematography.
Some scenes are cool when they turn on the headlights of the ambulance. You have all the bodies.
Makeup department killed it.
Yeah, they did a great job with this movie we were talking about, where like it started pouring rain, all the zombies coming out of the mud, so they're just all muddy, so it can hide the fact that they don't have like gaping wounds and
Yeah,
stuff.
this is a cool cinema trick. If you want to film a spooky monster, but you don't want to show off how bad your prosthetic is,
Dirty.
nighttime, raining, dirty,
Hmm.
and it worked in
Yeah.
this movie. Other movies, it's obvious what they're doing, but because when they needed to show like a zombie, they like the Tar Man looks sick as fuck.
Yeah, and I can't believe that was a puppet. That's sick.
Yeah, it makes sense the way it was walking.
Yeah,
The half skeleton that explains why they need to eat brains was pretty cool.
yeah, because they pretty much like tie down like,
They catch a they catch a skelly basically.
yeah, and she just explained to them, "We are in pain. The brains make us feel better."
Yeah. I was dead. Now I'm awake and it hurts.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, reasonable. Reasonable.
I can't give you my brains though. You're
Yeah,
fucked.
no, you cannot have my brains.
Mm.
But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And then the mortician says, well, why don't we just go hide in the attic?
The mortician was by far the most,
Reasonable.
because everybody's like, I don't want to fucking lock myself up there. Where it's
Well,
like,
I understand why the boss man didn't want to do it, because the boss man's thinking of routes of escape. That's all he was trying to do, was try to get the fuck away from this. And I agree completely.
I agree to a point. You look out the window and you're like, they ain't no escape. If it was Dawn of the Dead zombies, like
Slow shamblers.
yeah, where you can knock them out. Like the scene, they try to go to a police car, so they run out, start beating some of them. Then it's like, oh shit, they all start.
Yeah, that's
coming.
the problem with these zombies is even if you crack them upside the skull with a sledgehammer, they're gonna just get right the fuck back up.
What are worse, these zombies or 28 Days Later?
28 days later, you can shoot them in the chest 3 times and they die.
Yeah,
This
I think
is,
these are like,
these are the worst. These are the you can't win.
yeah.
That's why I call it a no-win scenario. So why bother trying?
Hmm.
At least with 28 days later, maybe I can find a place with high enough walls.
I mean, maybe back in the day when you could have a giant fucking broadsword, just chop them in half and be like, haha, I
Like
can run.
like, have a giant pit somewhere where you just throw
Yeah.
all the severed bodies in,
Yeah,
but don't light it on fire. Just throw the bodies in there, like a giant hole somewhere.
pour some water in there.
Maybe, you know, all those caves we're finding in South America, right? Where it's like holes in the ground and then people like cave in them and they just find like it's not ground, it's water with just nothing but skeletons underneath it. Maybe
That'd be
that's
fun.
what
all the voodoo zombies.
maybe that's what wiped out South America, the Aztecs and all that stuff. It wasn't fucking.
Imagine if it was voodoo zombies and they just had to.
That'd be a wicked cool movie, like Teo Chalin and stuff like that.
We see Mel Gibson to direct it.
Oh yeah, we do.
Imagine Mel Gibson directing a zombie movie.
It would be so. He's testifying against Weinstein right now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Go by Christian King. How's this movie end? It ends eventually with Boss Man after many failed escape attempts. We wind up whittling the characters down to Boss Man, Mod Guy, Blue Girl, Black Punk in the medical facility again, and Mortician and Blonde Girl in the attic.
In the attic.
And
during all this, you're forgetting the
oh,
lower boss and
Frank or Ernie or whatever.
The kid who started working there are slowly decaying, slowly turning.
Yeah,
into
we
zombies.
get to see the zombies.
So they bring him into the chapel and they're like, we'll lock him in here. But the girlfriend's like, I don't want to leave him.
Yeah, so she stays in the room with them. Fucking Richie or Frankie or whatever his name is turns first. And she winds up freaking out, going, oh, yeah, this was a bad idea. So they have to run in and save her. And while they're doing that, the other guy sneaks out. And we're like, where'd he go? And then we find out later.
I do like that. How like
I do like that
he
scene
sees
too.
what is going to happen to him. So he's like, you know what?
He goes to the crematorium. He turns it on its highest heat. He takes his wedding ring off. He puts it on the button. He climbs into the thing and shuts the shutter.
Like, this is one of those scenes where I know you don't like me saying it, but if this was a serious movie, that scene would be so fucking emotional.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't. Who cares? Like horror movies aren't supposed to be serious.
Don't tell A24 that.
I know, and what we
Those
got?
are great.
We got one.
No, Hereditary's good. Mandy's good. Did they make it Mandy? I don't know. There are some good serious horror movies.
Mandy was not made by A24, I think. I know Panos Cosmatos made Mandy because I fucking love that name.
I think we might watch Mandy next week. Anyway.
Yeah, A24 loves its pretension, which was the only good one.
which is really good.
Hereditary.
Hereditary was good.
What Comes at Night.
I didn't watch that one. I heard it was.
Hmm.
I heard it was like you expect this, but is this?
There's a
and it-
really cool scene at the end where the guy shoots a little boy, and you hear the mom scream, "Why did you do this? Why did you do this?" And it's like, oh, that's real horror. You know?
Yeah. So the girlfriend and the mortician are up in the attic, and all you hear is the boyfriend trying to break in, being like, I can smell your brains, and trying to
she's like, just go away.
So the mortician's like holding on to her,
And then he pulls his
out the
gun
gun out,
and he puts it to the back of her head.
and he's like,
because you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna shoot her and then himself.
yeah.
You know? Or he's gonna shoot her and kick her down there and be like, "There's some brains, leave me alone."
And while that's happening, you have the other group doing their thing.
They're in the basement. They just beat the shit out of Tarman.
So they end up calling the police, and the police are like, "What the hell's going on? We have all this
and
stuff."
then all you can hear is gunshots and screams.
Because at that point, all
the
the
Resident
zombies are-
Evil scene, Resident Evil 2 scene happens where the cops are trying to keep the zombies away, and then
So then they decide to do what they probably should have done in the first place.
they call the military.
They had a number on the side of the tank that blew open that says, "If there are emergencies, call this."
So they
But the
call
guy's
it-
like, "We don't want to do this. It's going to make our business bad."
yeah, so they call it, and it cuts to an old man in a bed.
Who was at the beginning of the movie, like pretty much explaining on the phone, "Oh, we lost tanks."
Yeah. And then,
Pork chops.
sir,
What?
one of our Easter eggs was found.
It is
Louisville
hatched.
Kentucky. Well, no, that is good news, sir. But however, our Easter egg has hatched. I know, sir. Yes, sir. All right, sir.
So it's conversation between him. Then he calls another guy like in a tank.
And he calls a dude in a fucking howitzer that's like, all right. And he puts in the coordinates and
It's
just
fucking sweet.
fires a nuke into Louisville, Kentucky.
And the movie ends with them getting nuked.
Yep.
But
It burns everyone, and all their ashes go into the atmosphere, and it starts raining, and the people in the town are complaining that the rain burns a little. Whoa!
to the sequel where there's zombie queens of the naked girl and
Yeah, who
stuff.
cares?
I haven't watched those ones yet.
Who cares?
Yeah.
This movie's fun. It's a fun, dumb little flick. Don't go in expecting anything interesting. Well, no,
It's interesting. There's some good
Tarman's
stuff.
interesting. Tarman is probably the most interesting
The
thing.
animatronics they had were good, besides for the dog.
I like the little bit of spinal fluid coming out of the chick on the table. That was cool.
No, it was good. They did what they could probably for the budget.
A lot of it was like when he opens the paper bag, it's just a puppet. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like it was a lot
It's
of.
creative.
It was doing what they did or what they could do. I don't know.
You're used to
I'm not
the
used to.
thing.
I just don't like horror. It's really what it comes down to. It's like there's two situations: they beat the monster or they all die. Every movie ends the same. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Or it ends with one girl going, "I can't believe it." You know what I mean? Like every movie, every horror movie.
So what do you think of the acting?
Some of the guys were really good.
It was
some of them-
probably like 3/4 good, a quarter just awful.
the obviously the elderly cast members were better because they've been acting longer.
Yeah, but even the kid who was the one who got the job there was actually a pretty good actor.
He was a pretty good like
the black
screamer.
kid was a good actor.
Joanna Man was a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joanna Man, Ricky, the two old men, and the mortician.
Yeah.
Tarman was a puppet, which was fucking amazing.
Best actor.
Yeah.
But
That's probably why he looks so
yeah.
like weird.
Which if they explain like in the movie where all the blood just seeps to one thing, so the blood was probably all it is because he was in the tank like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
sitting
All the
up.
blood was probably right at his like ankles.
So that's why he looked heavy when he was walking. And
Yeah, because
stuff.
they explain when you die, the blood stops flowing, so it just pools at the lowest point in your body. And
Mm.
since Ricky had been leaning on his girlfriend, all the blood had pooled.
That's the weird thing about this movie. It's like there's a lot of like kind of smart stuff that goes on throughout it, but then they just have fucking nonsense for a lot of it.
Welcome to fucking
Which I
magic.
feel like the second and the sequels just totally throw anything.
Go full on magic.
They just
There's
just-
probably a music video in one of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
that's the fourth movie. I don't know.
I mean, no, but I
makes
know what you're
sense, it
saying.
makes
yeah,
sense, yeah.
Quick, we need a zombie music video.
But the effects were good. Like the tone was probably the worst part.
Yeah,
The slow motion, it was.
there was a couple scenes where you could tell they were like, well,
Yeah, but I don't even think they needed the slow motion.
I don't think it would have registered because he probably moved too quick. And this was before flash cuts, really, were a main staple in horror.
Yeah. Oh, the slow motion ruined a lot of scenes.
It's why you show an explosion in slow motion. It's like fucking paid for the explosion. I want you guys to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was one good squib when the dude gets bit in the head and it sprays on the wood.
It wasn't as gory as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know you haven't seen it in a while, but yeah, this movie ain't all that gory.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let kids watch it.
Yeah.
But I'd watch it with like my parents.
I honestly think if it wasn't for the nudity, this movie wouldn't be like such a
Oh,
hard
it'd be
R.
like a PG-13.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of swearing. There's a little bit of blood. A lot of the movie is people in a room going, "What the fuck do we do now?" Which is what
That's
I
why
like.
the best things about this movie are the personal interactions between the cast.
Soundtrack was
Soundtrack sucked. It was all generic.
And then there were scenes where it was like,
that's why
it was like, what's happening?
I thought it was funny to have a bunch of punk kids, but there's no punk in it.
There was a couple.
There was no punk.
No, when they were driving through town, there was punk. There was that's what I'm looking for. Who's the guy who sings in the really high voice? Who's that guy?
The creepy song that's in like Insidious or something.
No. He's I don't know. He's from the time of Iggy Pop. Yeah, I know you wouldn't. They play a lot of goth music from the 70s, 80s, like Britwave goth.
Yeah, industrial.
No,
goth.
not industrial. Because industrial's like, oh god. This was like, God, I wish I could remember his name.
Text me later. I'll put it in the thing.
No, I never liked that. Nick's fiance, I think.
Was it like the dark techno?
No. This is like. I'll explain it later. I have to like Google a very specific set of words to find the character I'm thinking of.
Well, what's your like least favorite thing about this movie?
It just wasn't very good.
It's got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, yeah, and Avengers is at like 100%, right?
Those are good movies.
Better than Citizen Kane.
Yeah,
I know, dude. I know. I agree completely. It's not fanboyism. No.
When fucking Peters told Stark he didn't feel good.
No, I'm talking about the first Avengers has 100%.
It was like 93.
Remember that scene when Bruce Banner turns to Captain America and he goes,
"I'm always
that's my secret. I'm always a little bit upset." And then he gets real upset.
That was a good movie. You didn't like the original Avengers?
I liked it when it came out, and then I watched it again, and I was like, "Oh God, I can't believe I told people I liked this."
Yeah, that's why I won't watch it.
That was one of those embarrassing things. Like I was at a bar and I was talking to this kid who was in film school, and I was like, "Did you see the new Avengers movie?" And he was like, "No," and I was like, "No, dude, it's actually pretty good." And then I went home and I watched it that night, and I was like, "Oh, I told someone to watch this. Oh shit."
Well, anyway, would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think this is one of the horror movies that's watchable.
It's definitely I was in a goofy mood, so I'm like, I want to drink a 6-pack and watch this movie.
Oh, this is definitely a goofy ass fucking movie.
Don't go into this movie expecting high art.
Don't
go into it expecting Night of the Living Dead.
Do not go into this movie expecting anything interesting or original. Just Tarzan's original.
At the time, this was original
right,
for zombie
but I'm saying
movies.
for right now. Just go into it going, this is a zombie movie with some funny fucking scenes.
Yeah.
But don't expect it to be like laugh out loud funny because the scenes are more subtle. It's a lot of dialogue. We should call the police. No. The military. No. The boss. You're right. You know, like it's little scenes like that.
It's 80s humor.
It's
80s humor was very quick.
Naked Gun humor.
Yeah.
You know, like that's probably why I actually like this movie is because it kind of reminds of the slapstick where he puts it in his head and the body starts convulsing.
I did hit it in the brain.
Yeah,
like this. We don't have dialogue like that in movies anymore.
Yeah, I know. Where characters are just like yelling at each other, but it's real. It doesn't feel forced. It's not like an Ocean's 11 movie where they're all like snappy and quippy. There was no quip. The quips in this movie felt real. It felt like an ad lib.
People would say.
Yeah. There's no scene where Tony Stark takes off his faceplate and goes, "Let's get kielbasa," or whatever he fucking said. No, shawarma. And then everyone's like, "Yeah, let's get shawarma."
I don't know. He's just an epic battle. He's like, I don't know. I heard shawarma's good.
You know what I mean? Whereas this movie is, "I did hit him in the fucking brain.
But then it cuts to them in a shawarma restaurant in their costumes, and it was funny.
It was funny that they were in a shawarma restaurant in their costumes,
Yeah.
eating in silence.
Yes, I would recommend this movie.
I would recommend Avengers 2014 or 16 or
I
whatever.
don't even know.
That sucks. I recommended someone an Avengers movie when I was like past 20 years old. It's embarrassing.
You're embarrassing.
I recommend this movie and I'm in my 30s. So what's that say?
Stupid asshole!